For centuries, Stonehenge has stood in silence, a perfect ring of towering stones, weathered by wind, rain, and time itself. It has been studied, measured, reconstructed, debated, and yet it has never truly been understood. Millions have visited it. Thousands of researchers have tried to decode it. And still, one question lingers. What is Stonehenge really? But what if the real mystery isn't what we don't know? What if it's that everything we thought we knew is incomplete? Because recently, something changed. Not a new excavation, not a new theory, but a new way of seeing. Chapter 1. Seeing Beneath the Earth. For most of human history, archaeology meant one thing: digging. Layer by layer, inch by inch, uncovering fragments of the past buried beneath soil and stone. But today, archaeologists don't just dig, they scan. Using a combination of ground-penetrating radar, 3D subsurface imaging, artificial intelligence, and soil chemistry analysis, scientists can now see beneath the earth without disturbing it. And when these technologies were turned toward the landscape around Stonehenge, they didn't just find artifacts, they found something enormous. Chapter 2. The Hidden Circle. Just a short distance from Stonehenge lies a massive prehistoric site known as Durrington Walls. For years, it was considered a typical Neolithic settlement: houses, gathering spaces, evidence of feasts and rituals. Nothing unusual, until researchers began scanning the land beyond it. At first, the signals were faint, irregular shapes beneath the soil, patterns that didn't match natural formations. Then, slowly, the image became clear: a ring, not of stones, but of giant pits. Chapter 3. 4,000 years underground. The discovery was staggering. Dozens of pits, each one massive, wide enough to swallow a house, arranged in a near-perfect circle, stretching over a mile in diameter. This wasn't random. It wasn't erosion. It wasn't collapse. It was design, precision, intent. The first question was obvious. Could this be natural? The answer came quickly. No. Sinkholes are irregular. Animal activity is chaotic. Natural formations don't create perfect geometry. So scientists went deeper. Chapter 4. The Science of Time. To understand the pits, researchers turned to advanced dating techniques. One of the most powerful tools they used is called luminescence dating. It works by determining the last time a grain of soil was exposed to sunlight. The results were consistent across all samples. Every test pointed to the same conclusion. These pits were dug around 2500 BCE, deliberately, by humans. Chapter 5. A Single Vision. But the most surprising discovery wasn't their age, it was how they were built. These pits were not created over generations, added gradually over time, dug by different groups. They were part of a single coordinated project, a unified design, a shared vision, which raises an extraordinary possibility. 4,000 years ago, a group of people stood in an open landscape and imagined a perfect circle stretching across the horizon. Then they built it. Chapter 6. The Intelligence of the Ancient World. No drones, no aerial views, no satellite imagery, and yet perfect geometry. How? The answer lies not in lost technology, but in underestimated intelligence. Using ropes as measuring tools, wooden stakes as markers, observational geometry, and collective planning, ancient builders were capable of remarkable precision. What they lacked in tools, they made up for in organization, patience, and shared purpose. Chapter 7. A monument larger than Stonehenge. When fully mapped, the pit circle revealed something astonishing. It is larger in total area than Stonehenge itself. For over 4,000 years, it remained invisible. Farmers plowed over it. People lived above it. Generations passed without knowing. An entire monument hidden in plain sight. Chapter 8. A sacred boundary. Why build something like this? Archaeologists believe the pits marked a boundary, not a physical one, a symbolic one, a line separating the ordinary world from the sacred landscape. Some suggest it represented the edge between life and death, the human world and the spiritual realm. Others believe it defined the limits of a massive ceremonial complex of which Stonehenge was only one part. Chapter 9. A global pattern emerges. But the story doesn't end in England, because once scientists began using these technologies elsewhere, they started seeing the same pattern again and again. Hidden structures, buried cities, entire civilizations, invisible until now. Chapter 10. The Amazon Revelation. Deep within the Amazon rainforest, researchers spent decades exploring on foot. They found evidence of human presence, but nothing on a large scale. Then came LiDAR, a laser-based scanning system capable of penetrating dense forest canopy. What it revealed changed everything. Chapter 11. Cities Beneath the Jungle. Under the trees, scientists discovered thousands of rectangular platforms, extensive road networks, agricultural terraces, engineered drainage systems, entire cities, organized, planned, connected. Among them were settlements linked to the Upano culture. Chapter 12. Rethinking the Amazon. For centuries, the Amazon was believed to be untouched wilderness. But the evidence now shows something different. It was managed, engineered, and densely populated, possibly supporting tens or even hundreds of thousands of people. A civilization hidden not underground, but beneath trees. Chapter 13. The Desert That Speaks. From the jungle, we move west to Peru. Here lies one of the most famous mysteries on Earth, the Nazca lines, massive geoglyphs carved into the desert. Animals, shapes, lines stretching for miles, visible only from the sky. Chapter 14. The Role of Artificial Intelligence. For decades, researchers searched for more. Slowly, manually. Then, artificial intelligence changed the process. By analyzing aerial imagery, AI systems identified patterns invisible to the human eye. In just 6 months, over 300 new geoglyphs were discovered. Chapter 15. Not messages, but movement. The new discoveries shifted the narrative. These were not random drawings, not alien messages, but pathways, ceremonial routes, used by people walking across the landscape in ritual processions. Closing of Part 1. Across continents and cultures, one truth is emerging. The ancient world was not small. It was vast, complex, interconnected, and for thousands of years, It has been hiding beneath our feet. Stonehenge, the hidden world beneath. Chapter 16. Before the stones. Long before the first stone was ever raised at Stonehenge, the land itself was already sacred. This is one of the most important shifts in our understanding. Stonehenge did not appear in isolation. It did not rise from an empty field. Instead, it emerged from a landscape that had already been shaped by human belief, ritual, and memory for centuries. One of the earliest known sites in this region is Robin Hood's Ball. Dating back to around 3600 BCE, hundreds of years before Stonehenge, this site reveals something critical. People were already gathering here. Chapter 17. A place designed to welcome, not defend. At first glance, sites like Robin Hood's Gall might look like defensive structures. They consist of circular ditches and banks. But a closer look reveals something unusual. The ditches are not continuous. They're broken, interrupted, deliberately. These gaps were not flaws. They were the purpose. This was not a wall meant to keep people out. It was a space designed to bring people in. A place of gathering, feasting, ceremony, and exchange. In other words, a social and spiritual center. Chapter 18. A landscape of memory. As archaeologists continued to explore the region, more sites emerged, buried beneath hills, hidden under farmland, each one adding a new layer to the story. At locations like Larkhill, excavations revealed flint tools crafted with precision, arrowheads shaped with skill, animal remains, human bones, and pottery from different regions. This last detail is especially important. Different pottery styles indicate different communities, which means people were traveling here from across the land, bringing their traditions, their identities, their beliefs. Stonehenge was not just local, it was regional, possibly even national. Chapter 19. The stones themselves. To understand Stonehenge, we must understand its most iconic feature, the stones. There are two primary types. One, the sarsen stones, massive outer stones each weighing around 20 to 30 tons. And two, the blue stones, smaller but still incredibly heavy. Their origin tells a remarkable story. The blue stones came from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 200 kilometers away. But one stone, known as the altar stone, may have come from much farther, possibly from northeastern Scotland. Chapter 20. The Greatest Transport Mystery. How do you move stones weighing several tons across such distances, without wheels, without metal tools, without modern engineering? This remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. Several theories exist. Wooden sledges dragged over land, logs used as rollers, transport via rivers for some stones, and coordinated human labor on a massive scale. What is clear is this: it required planning, organization, cooperation, and determination, not just for days or weeks, but for generations. Chapter 21. A monument built over time. Stonehenge was not built in a single moment. It evolved, phase by phase, generation by generation. Phase 1, around 3100 BCE. A circular ditch was dug. Wooden posts were erected. The site was used for cremation burials. This is one of the earliest known cremation cemeteries in Britain. Phase 2. Timber structures expanded. Ritual activity increased. Phase 3. Around 2500 BCE. The great stones arrived. The iconic structure took shape. This process spanned nearly 1,000 years. Chapter 22. The human cost. Building Stonehenge was not easy. Estimates suggest it required around 20 million hours of labor. To put that into perspective, one person working non-stop for an entire lifetime would not complete it. This was not a project. It was a legacy, passed down through generations, each group continuing what the previous had begun. Chapter 23. Life beside the monument. Near Stonehenge, archaeologists uncovered a settlement at Durrington Walls. This was not a temporary camp. It was a thriving village. Homes were built using chalk walls, wooden frames, and thatched roofs. Inside, evidence shows beds, storage areas, hearths for cooking, and carefully arranged living spaces. These were not primitive shelters. They were homes. Chapter 25. A surprising level of comfort. Reconstructed houses based on archaeological evidence reveals something unexpected. They were warm, bright, and well-designed. Heating was managed using heated stones brought indoors. Light reflected off pale walls. Space was used efficiently. This challenges a common assumption. Ancient people were not just surviving, they were living. Chapter 26. The solar alignment. One of the most well-known features of Stonehenge is its alignment with the sun. During the summer solstice, the sun rises directly in line with the heel stone. Light enters the center of the monument. During the winter solstice, the setting sun aligns with the inner stones. This is not coincidence. It is precision. Chapter 27. A place of healing. Another theory suggests Stonehenge was a place of healing. Evidence includes human remains showing signs of illness, people traveling long distances to reach the site, and blue stone fragments deliberately removed. Some researchers believe the stones were thought to have healing powers, whether physical or spiritual. Chapter 28. A time of change. Around 2500 BCE, Britain was undergoing transformation. A new group of people arrived, known as the beaker culture. They brought new pottery styles, new burial practices, and possibly new beliefs. This was not a small shift. It was a major population change. Chapter 30. Stonehenge as a symbol. Some researchers now propose a powerful idea. Stonehenge was not just religious, it was political, a symbol of unity, a statement, a way of bringing together different communities during a time of change. Chapter 31. The meaning of the altar stone. If the altar stone did come from Scotland, its presence becomes even more significant. It may represent a connection between distant regions, a symbolic inclusion of northern communities, a message of shared identity. Placed at the center of the monument, aligned with the sun, it becomes more than stone. It becomes meaning. Chapter 31. A bridge between worlds. Stonehenge may have served as a meeting point between communities, a link between the living and the dead, a connection between earth and sky. Not just a structure, but an idea. Chapter 41. The Role of the Sky. One element appears again and again, the sky. Ancient monuments often align with the sun, the moon, and seasonal cycles. At Stonehenge, solar alignment is precise. At other sites, similar patterns emerge. This suggests something important. Ancient people were not just building on Earth, they were building in relation to the cosmos. Chapter 42. A Unified Human Trait. Across all these discoveries, one thing becomes clear. Human beings have always sought connection. Connection to each other, connection to the land, connection to something beyond. Stonehenge may be one expression of this, but it is not the only one. Chapter 43. The Real Mystery. After everything we've uncovered, one question remains. Not how they built it, not when they built it, but why they cared enough to do it at all. Why invest thousands of hours, generations of effort, massive coordination into something that offers no immediate survival benefit? Chapter 44. The answer lies in us. The answer may be simpler than we think, because the same impulse still exists today. We build cities, monuments, institutions, not just for function, but for meaning, for identity, for legacy. Chapter 45. Stonehenge as a Message. Stonehenge may not be a mystery to solve, it may be a message to understand. A statement from the past that says, we were here, we worked together, we believed in something greater than ourselves. Chapter 46. The Hidden World Beneath. Even now, much remains undiscovered. Beneath fields, under forests, across deserts, entire chapters of human history are still waiting. Not lost, just unseen. Final scene. Standing on history. Right now, somewhere near Stonehenge, there are people walking across open land, standing on soil, taking photos, unaware that beneath their feet lies a hidden circle, a structure older than history itself. Final words. The more we discover, the clearer it becomes. Ancient humans were not so different from us. They wondered, gathered, built, believed, and above all, they wanted to be remembered. Amazing discoveries. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon, share this video with friends, and join the discussion on what these findings could mean. Your thoughts and questions are important, so let's explore incredible mysteries together.